Greetings, folks. Today we're going to do something I don't do very often, and that is some work on my main computer. This machine has been the same for quite a while. For those of you that are just tuning in now, it bases on this Antec NSK 2400 case, which as you can see has seen some better days. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's got an AMD Ryzen, which I still think is a stupid name for a CPU lineup, but whatever. I don't work for AMD, they didn't ask me, so I guess I get no input on that. But it's an R7 5700G. Yes, R7 5700G. I'm not using the Radeon graphics anymore because I had some stability problems with it. I ended up getting a Radeon RX 6600, which you can see up there. That's the box for it. It's got 32 gigabytes of memory. Originally, it had this stuff in it right here. G-Skills memory. This is DDR4 3200. What it's got in it now is DDR4 3600, 32 gigabytes. Which I really only got because I needed more than 16 gigabytes for this because it was hitting the page file pretty hard. And also because I wanted the 3600 memory, it was a little bit faster. As preparation for future expansion, future plans, whatever you really want to call it. Although as it turns out, those future plans might not end up working out. We'll get into that probably in this video. It's got some random SSD in it. I don't really know what it is. I think it's a Western Digital Blue and NVMe. Might be a black. I don't remember. I know it's got a 1TB Western Digital Blue for main data storage, and then another Samsung 870, 2TB for my videos, some external drives, whatever. I think the power supply is some Thermaltake thing. I don't know. But here's what's going on. What I've got going on here is a stability issue. And it's kind of a weird stability issue because you'll notice right now, as you can see, the CPU has got a fair amount of load on it. Go ahead and take a look here. You can see the first the first four CPUs, I think it's 2 cores plus 2 threads, are pegged. Meanwhile, there's no activity really on any of the others. You can see the uptime there. Almost, well, about 2/3 of a month. If I leave the thing completely unloaded, you know, just with normal usage with a web browser or whatever, after, you know, within the first 5 minutes of the machine being powered on, it will freeze, it will reboot as if you just press the reset switch, or it will do both. It will freeze and then a couple seconds later it will reset itself. Nothing ever shows up in the event log explaining why this is going on. So I am at a loss to explain exactly what's going on. At first I thought it was the reset switch because it wasn't locking up. At that time it was just rebooting spontaneously. I thought it was the reset switch, so I disconnected the reset switch. That made no difference. Then I thought it was the RAM, you know, so maybe it's the speed, so I turned XMP mode off, so it's not running in XMP anymore. And that worked for, I think, 2 days. And then it started doing it again. So then, you can see, I started hitting the computer with a hammer, and it would work for a little while, and then it would stop working again. And now nothing seems to be able to actually fix it. Now, I think that hitting it with the hammer was probably just a placebo. Maybe it was just, you know, I caught it at the wrong time or whatever. But it would go through these spurts, and then every once in a while it would work fine, and then it would stop working again within like 5 minutes. And what I found is if I run Prime 95 on a small number of CPU cores, in this case 4 of them, and I'm running Prime 95, I don't know, it's showing up as red in my taskbar. I don't know if something failed or what's going on, but anyway, doesn't matter. I'm running Prime 95 and it's been running for about 20 days. Without a lockup, no glitches, no anything. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. That leads me to believe, though, that it's some kind of a power issue. You know, maybe the power is not stable when there's no load. And I've certainly seen power supplies do that before. You know, if you remember my wireless bridge computer, I had a power supply in that. That would cause the computer to reboot spontaneously. Sort of like what this one's doing. So maybe there is something wrong with that power supply. I've had that power supply in here, I think, since the first build. Actually, no, that's not true. It wasn't the first build, but it was probably very shortly thereafter. I may have a video on the channel talking about replacing the power supply in this. I'd have to look. I don't remember when I replaced it, but it's reasonable to suspect that it's more than 5 years old. So maybe there's something wrong with the power supply. Maybe there's something wrong with the motherboard and the voltage regulator circuit. Maybe there's something wrong with the CPU, because I know I had problems with the GPU on the integrated video when I was using the integrated video. Maybe the CPU has just finally got to the point where it's not stable anymore. I don't know. But since I broke my case doing what I did with it, as you can very clearly see, I very expertly repaired it. And because this case has got other problems, most notably the fact that my front panel headphone jack doesn't work. You know, you gotta push it and wiggle the cable in order to get it to work. I think I got a problem with one of my USB ports. We're gonna go ahead and do a complete rethink of this machine. Almost, but not quite. Money is tight in this economy, as I'm sure a lot of my viewers are well aware of. And so it was that I really could not justify to myself a platform upgrade. So I'd end up being stuck on the AM4 platform with the DDR4 memory. In an ideal world, I would have gone with something like a 7900 or like a 7700X or something similar from AMD, but that obviously those are AM5 chips. I'd have to get a whole new motherboard, and most of those AM5 boards are DDR5. I'd have to get a whole new set of memory, and DDR5 is actually pretty expensive when you look at it. It's faster. Oh, it's a lot faster, but it's also a lot more expensive. So I couldn't justify that, which left me with the 5000 series chips. Now, what I ended up with is not really what I wanted either. I wanted something a little bit higher end, but this is what we've got, because this is what they had. Apparently these are not very easy to find anymore. Yeah, you can see it's a 5800X3D, so it's probably a little bit better. I don't remember how much better it is than the existing chip. I'm going to go ahead and look that up right now. Taking a look here just at this one benchmarking website, just a random benchmarking website, you can see there we're looking at probably about 18% better, give or take. Certainly more consistent results. About 12%. Lower memory latency, things like that. It's more popular. Blah, blah, blah. It's more recent. And of course, this stupid guy here who really has got no idea. Reviewer who has got no idea how CPUs work. Poo-pooing all over AMD and their marketing, because it's not as if Intel doesn't do marketing, guys. Like, I mean, come on, get real. And the AMD chips are far and away better than what Intel is offering for the same price point. But irrespective of that, I almost have to agree with them that this 3D V-cache thing is kind of a marketing gimmick and nothing else. And I'm saying that before I've even tried it. You know, maybe I'll find out that it's just oh so much better and I'll change my mind, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if the newer chips actually still have it or not, or if all the newer chips have it and it's not just the specific ones like this. This isn't the chip I wanted. What I wanted was more like an R9 5900X, maybe a 5950, although I couldn't really justify the extra $200 of the 5950 either. Just for, like, what, an extra 4 cores? Actually, no, sorry, an extra 2 cores and 4 threads is what it would have been. I can't justify that cost. But this isn't really, like, yeah, this isn't really what I wanted. This is only 8-core 16. I wanted the 12-core. But, you know, whatever. It's what they had for a reasonable price. So it's what I ended up getting. And who knows, that might open up some future potential upgrades later on down the road, in such a way where I don't have to replace this whole platform. So, I don't know, maybe I can put off upgrading to AM5 for another little while. But this isn't the only upgrade we're going to be doing. I have a new case and a new power supply. Let's go check those out. Quick little detour. I don't know if I've made a video of this wind mirror fan, but I've had it for a while. It was squeaking, and I don't think I've really fully got the squeaks out of it. It kind of runs a little bad. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. But this, I actually picked up this past week off the side of the road. It was dirty as all get out, but I managed to clean it up. It's the beauty of a laundry tub. Cleaned it up, oiled it, and it runs perfectly fine. So it just goes to show you what a wasteful society we can be. I don't know about this printer that I also picked up. It's a little office jet thing. I'll probably test it, see what happens, but I expect that it's probably completely toasted based on how new it is. Might make a good smash video, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But here's the case. You can see my sunlight's vanishing here. It's vanishing fast, so I'm really not going to get too much to this tonight. And this weekend in general, so it's probably just going to wait till next weekend, or maybe even longer. The problem is that I do IT work as my day-to-day job, and the last thing I really want to do is to come home and do more of it, you know? So that's why I've put this off for so long. I bought that CPU, or got that CPU, I didn't pay anything for it. Got that CPU as a birthday present, and that was 2 months ago now. You know, it's bad enough that I got a UPS at Christmas, and it took me until probably about a week ago to replace it. Oops. But, yeah, this is something that's overdue. I've made plans to upgrade that machine well over a year ago. I think that was when I put that new memory in. And it's taken a while. But here it is, the new case. Bet you didn't think I'd get a new case, did you? Now, I could have used this. And I thought about potentially using this. This is another thing that I pulled off the side of the road. This little Zalman case. The problem with this, I don't know, I may use it anyway. I haven't really decided yet. But the problem with this is I'd have to put a second optical drive in there, and I don't have the SATA capability to do that, because I obviously don't have the second blank. Or I guess the alternative option would be to find a 5 1/4 to 3 1/2 inch adapter and put the card reader there, because I will be installing a card reader. There's one in here somewhere. There's probably two in here somewhere, but I will be installing a card reader, because that's something that I find particularly useful. I'd love to put a floppy drive in there, but unfortunately I don't have a floppy drive just yet for a new system. I'm sure they exist. But yeah, this case also kind of strikes me as being somewhat flimsy. But I don't know. It's free. I'll probably build something into it, just not this. I'll use this case, which still has all its old components in it, which I'll have to take out. There's no optical drive, so I'm going to use the existing drive, and then I'm going to pull out one of those bay covers and put a card reader in there. I can at least get some of this work prep done. And see, here it is with the cover off. This is another one of those weird cases where the top slides off and reveals the rest. That's what's in here now. Nothing special, nothing great. P5L-MX. I think it's like a Core 2 quad, maybe? Might not even be that good. 160 gigabyte hard drive. Yeah, I don't need to keep that in here. Unfortunately, this is just like the other case, and it uses these stupid grommets with special screws. I had a set of them. I think I left them on my desk at work, so I'll have to grab them, and I'll have to grab them later. I'm thinking I'm going to move the cabling from the other case when I redo my main computer. And probably the same thing, I'll probably put a new fan in here, because I don't know about this fan. I mean, it probably works just fine. It's just, it's not really what I want out of the system. It's plugged straight into the power supply, and that's a little annoying. So I'll probably swap that out, and I will definitely need to blow this thing out with the air compressor. As you can see, it's quite dirty. Power supply that's in here right now is one of these SU380s. I have no idea if it works. Probably works just fine, but I'm going to put a better power supply in here as well. Okay, here's the case with everything removed. All the covers. I even pulled the front panel off so I could get the dirt back there too. Oh, and by the way, For everybody who's been complaining on my videos about you need to deal with the air leak, watch this. Now it's not perfect, but I dealt with the air leak. You happy? Alright, so there's the case all nice and clean. At least as clean as it's going to get. There's still some like rust spots and things on it. But, I mean, what do you want for an old case? It would be kind of nice to be able to populate that with a fan, but I don't know what size fan that is, and I probably want to take that out again as well and dust it separately, because I think that it might need it. But in dealing with this case, I've come to realize two things, one of which might be a showstopper with it. First of all, there's no front panel audio connections on this case, which I didn't even notice until now. You know, I was unplugging the motherboard, and I happened to notice that the front panel was missing. Now that's not a big deal. I'm sure that you could get front panel audio connection breakouts, and maybe even some of them that have USB 3.0 on them, which would be very nice to have for this, because obviously I'm putting new hardware in this, and this doesn't have any USB 3.0. It would be nice to take advantage of that. But, you know, at very least the audio, because I do use the front panel headphone jack quite frequently. The other thing that might be an issue, and this is more of a showstopper, I don't know if the video card's going to fit in here. Because I think that video card, being what it is, has got a larger cooler that extends past the end of an ATX motherboard, which as you can see is right there, where that standoff is. Well, there's only like maybe an inch of extra space there, and I think that cooler is a little bit larger. Could I Dremel the case? Yeah, probably. Do I want to Dremel the case? No. I did that with the last one. And that was kind of a pain, because that's thick metal to have to Dremel through, sorry. And why would I modify this case to fit a specific purpose when what I could do, and what I may do, I mean probably not, I've put all the effort into this case, I'd like to use it if everything will work out, is I could just use this case that's right here, which is effectively the same thing. I mean, it looks almost the same. The difference is that it doesn't have any true 3.5-inch bays, but it's got my front panel audio and a front panel firewire that I'll never use, and it's also a little bit bigger. As you can see, it's about an inch, maybe an inch and a half at the absolute maximum, but that might be enough. I suppose we'll find out. But I think I'm out of time here because my battery's about to die, my sunlight is almost completely gone, and the mosquitoes are now out, and it is humid out here, and I am kind of tired of working out in this crap, so I'll be back thanks to the magic of video editing to take a look at the power supply. Well, I grabbed another camera because I didn't really feel like waiting for another battery to charge, and I didn't feel like waiting until next weekend to get on with this, but here's the power supply that I purchased for this project, probably about, maybe a year ago. Nothing particularly special, but it's larger in size. It's a 750 watt as opposed to a 600, which I think I've got in the machine. That thing might only have a 500, which is a little bit undersized. So it's a 750 with some 80 plus gold certification, and it's fully modular. That was the other thing. I think it's fully modular anyway. The picture is fully modular, but I guess we'll find out if it is in fact fully modular. So here you can get an idea You can pause the video if you want to read any of this on the back here. Take a look at the efficiency chart. It's not bad. Although I wish I were somewhere where we have 220 for the voltage, because look at that. Look at how much more efficient it is. That's kind of sad, really. And there's your specifications. You can pause the video if you want to read that. Here's what you get for connectors. Pretty standard. Yeah, it looks like standard stuff. You do actually get one of these floppy style power connectors, which is nice. There's not much that uses that anymore, but it'd certainly be good. I'm sure that I think there's some card readers out there that still need it. And I still would like to have a floppy drive, but I don't think I'm going to need it right away. I only need a couple of SATA connectors. You know, 3 of them. I need one for the optical and then 2 for disk drives down here. I think. Yeah, 2 for disk drives. And the PCI Express. So this has never been opened. It's been sitting around. I think I got this on sale for a really good price. I don't remember what happened to the other one. It may have gone into the wireless bridge. I'd have to go back and watch that video. Let's see if we can open this up. Comes with a set of brand new screws. Brand new power cable. It's actually kind of nice. I may use that power cable. Big old bag of stuff. Drink mix. Don't do that, seriously. And there's power supply. Well, either I'm committed to this case, or I should be. But I went and installed the power supply in here, just in preparation to do this work. And now I'm going to install the cabling that I know that I'm going to need, or at least the cabling that I think I'm going to need. I may need all 4 of those PCI Express power connectors, but I think I only need 2 of them. That's really the only thing that I've got some question about. So I used the screws that the power supply came with, because I mean it came with screws, you might as well use them, the nice black screws. I might see if I can find some black screws for the fan, and maybe even some for the case too. I'm sure I've got something kicking around in one of the bags of screws around here. Okay, gone ahead and went on and put all the cables in. I also got some drives here so I could do a test fit. When I put these in here, I'm probably going to space the drives out, but I wanted to make sure that it would fit with everything in the furthest possible location. And as it turns out, it does. So I can get away with only having one SATA power thingy-majig going back there. So that's good. Now I just got to figure out what I'm going to do, and of course those being there really makes me question whether or not I can put the video card in place. I think the answer to that question is probably going to end up being no. So, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be as committed to this as I am. Well, my worst fears have materialized. I've done all this work to get this going, and my video card is not going to fit. Look at this. Looking up online, it's about 29, well, it says 292 millimeters, which is 29.2 centimeters, which is about right there. And you can see that even if we go to the back of the case, that's not going to fit. Now, it would probably fit if I pulled this out. The problem is that I don't think I can pull this out. So the question becomes now, what do I do? Do I Dremel it? Well, if I Dremel it, then I'm going to end up losing some of these drive bays. The other option would be, okay, I have a 5 1/4 to 3 1/2 inch adapter. I just put it right there, you know, with the with a dual 3 1/2 to, or sorry, a 3 1/2 to dual 2 1/2 adapter, and put that there. And I could probably do that, except for the fact that I need an optical drive, I need a card reader, and I need my audio connectors, which I did order, by the way, which now seems kind of silly that I ordered it because I'm not going to be using this case. So, yeah, I can't do that. So what's going to have to end up happening, I guess, is that I'm going to migrate to this case. This big thing. This is another Antec case. It's a pretty similar design. I'll have to see what this is all about right here. But that's for the card reader. And then, I guess that's that. I could take a look at this case as well. But this case doesn't have any 3.5-inch external bay. Actually, no, I take that back. It does have one right there. So I suppose if I take that out, I could put the card reader there. So you can get to see that. It has one, but I'd have to buy another 5.25 to 3.5-inch adapter in order to use my front panel audio and card reader, because this doesn't actually have any front panel ports. Pulling the cover off this case for the first time, and I see what I was afraid I'd see. It looks like this would have used either special screws or special mounting rails, and, well, I don't have those in either case. So, I don't know, what do I do about that? It's really kind of hard to say. You could, in theory, screw drives to the back there, and maybe you could even get away with it if you took this plastic thing off, I don't know, but I'm not sure how much I really want to mess with that. I'd probably rather use this for some kind of diskless workstation. But I was correct. There is no front panel anything in this case, which I find to be a little weird. It doesn't even have all the standoffs installed, which again is something I find a little weird. I don't know who set this up, because I can't say I was paying attention to which house I grabbed it off the curb from, but it's not going to really be suitable for this either. So I guess I'm tearing apart this case down here. Or maybe there's a micro ATX case somewhere that I could use, but I really don't want to use a micro ATX case because it's not going to have the expansion needs that I want, and it is possible that the heatsink is not going to fit in one of those cases either. Okay, I pulled the cover off of this case, and guess what? Exactly the same problem. It's got exactly the same issue. So that's not going to work either. I'm surprised it only has a 320 gig drive in it, but I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be. It looks like this case, oh no, it does use standard screws, so that's good. It's nice to see. This does have a 5.25 to 3.5-inch adapter in it, sort of. I mean, I could always remove this front panel, put it on that one, and use it that way. But I'm going to need two of those. Or maybe not, because, well, I got to see what happens if I pull that drive cage out first, but my thought process is that I can probably get away without a card reader in this system. I do need the front panel. I need the front panel audio. I use that all the time, but I've got other computers that I could put a card reader in. For example, my capture PC that's up there could probably have a card reader put into it. So I don't need this to necessarily have a card reader in it. But it's just going to look a little weird. And it's going to be a little weird because I've got to install, or will have to install, two 5.25 to 3.5-inch adapters, and it means that this case won't be expandable any further than what it is. So, I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence about that. I may see if I can wrangle that into working, but again, it means I gotta get a 5.25 to 3.5-inch adapter. But I suppose I'll see what happens with this one, if I can use this one that's in here, this 5.25 to 3.5 that's sitting on the bottom here. I'm not gonna put that in there. We'll see. We'll see. I might just try it now and we'll see what happens. So at this point, now that it's been, I got that CPU probably sometime around the end of April. It's now the end of frickin' June. And we have made it absolutely nowhere with this project. The original case that I wanted to use, which is sitting down there, isn't going to work because there's not enough space for the video card. this case, my backup option isn't going to work because there's not enough space for the video card. I don't want to use one of those micro ATX cases because part of the whole reason of going to a full-size ATX case is to leave open the option in the future to get or to move to a full-size ATX board. I guess it's not full-size, it's more like a mid-tower, but you know what I mean. A board that has got, or a case that's got 7 slots for a board that's got 7 slots. That's what I'm after. So these micros are out of the question, and I don't even think that the new heatsink is going to fit in a lot of these micro-sized cases anyway. But it might. You never know. It might. But I don't really want to take that chance. And this case right here, this Zalman case that I trash picked, is not going to be good either. Not for any real particular reason, but I don't think the video card is going to fit in this either. I think it's going to bump up against this. And I'm not going to pull that computer apart, put it in here, and then find that the video card doesn't work, and then what? You know? I don't have another option. I don't have another case that definitely won't fit in that. It definitely won't fit in this. I don't think I've got one of those sitting around that I can put it in. Certainly not here. So where does that leave us? So I could use this case. Technically, there's really nothing stopping me from using this one. But this case is not in very good condition. So I don't really want to use that either. So now what? Well, I'm tired of waiting, and I'm tired of running my computer at 100 degrees Celsius to keep it from crashing, which sounds really funny when you put it that way. So we're going to use the nuclear option. What do you do when you're surrounded with old cases that won't do what you need? You find an older case. So what I have here is one of these Process Pentium 4 era machine cases. Although obviously it's got newer hardware in it, or had newer hardware in it. I mean, it still does. I'm going to use this stupid thing. So, a couple of things that I will need to do, aside from removing everything from the case and then cleaning out all the dirt. This fan needs to be replaced with one that's speed controllable. I'm going to pull out the stupid bracket at the back. That's got, you know, those quick latch things that do nothing but get stuck. So I'm going to pull that out and use standard screws. But other than that, should be fine. I'll have to pull out one of these slot covers, the top one, and then leave that one open. And I'm going to put this in there. This cheap little China thing. Mosquito. The one that I ended up getting, I believe, is this one, which has got the temperature gauge. I don't really need anything. All I really want are the USB 3.0 ports. Well, I don't really need the audio because this does have front panel audio, but I don't know that I trust it. And I'm probably just going to pull all those front panel ports out because they're kind of, well, you know, thinking about that, I may leave the USB in there, but I'm probably going to just get rid of the audio because I don't think those audio ports work. I remember hearing a bunch of stories about these cases and the front panel audio not working correctly, so maybe we'll just forego that and use the audio on this. And besides, if I put the audio there, it'll be closer to where I need to actually plug it in anyway, so ultimately that's probably nicer. But it's got basically any kind of card reader media that I need. I really only use the SD card and the CF anyway, but, you know, it can read micro SD card. That's that TF right there, which I think stands for Tiny Flash. And it's got USB 3.0, which is nice to have. I'm going to put that in there. I suppose the one that I actually probably really wanted was this one. Not the one that had all the fans, but I didn't see this one. I just kind of ordered the first one that I found, which is this. So, this is what we've got. This is what we're going to put in there. Of course, it'll get an optical drive. It means I don't have to put any outboard card reader in there, which is good. And that'll be that. So, I'm going to begin to tear this thing apart. And I'll come back. Probably after I've cleaned the case out with the air compressor. Here's another aspect of this case that I hate. All the screws are out, but yet it won't budge. I'm not really entirely sure why. So I guess I'm going to have to employ some violence. Well, as you can see, my sunlight's vanishing again. I had to drop this project for a little while and work on something else, but that's okay. I wasn't really ready to do all the work on this anyway. So, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. You can take a look at it. It comes with screws, so I may actually use those instead of using these, because as it turns out I've only got one set of those. I suppose I could find another set if I really looked, but I might as well just use the screws because I don't know really how this is supposed to sit in, and I don't know if it's actually got... Well, yeah, it does. It's got multiple screw holes there, but the interesting thing is they give you 4 screws, but... Well, I suppose if you were using a standard case, you'd be able to use all 4 screws, but I'm not, so... Alright, there it is. The media dashboard installed in the case. And here's what it comes with. 2 fan headers. I'm going to go ahead and actually plug the rear fan in there. At least as an experiment. I may see how it goes. If it doesn't work out too well, then I guess I can stop doing that. There's also, this is fan 1 and this is fan 2. So, it kind of sucks that I'm going to be using fan 2 and not fan 1, but it's possible that I might install a fan in the front of this case, or, if it'll fit, I may actually install a fan on the side of the case, because I would be able to put one there. I might do that. I haven't decided yet. But, this mosquito that's trying to ruin everything. I'll do that. So it's got a fan. Obviously it needs power. There's a USB. Actually, that's the audio. So there's your front panel audio. Looks like it's not AC97 compatible, but that's fine. Oh, sorry. HD audio compatible, but that's fine. There's a SATA connection, because there's an eSATA on the front. It's kind of funny, that's a standard SATA cable, but that's an eSATA port. I don't know if you can do that. And then, of course, one of the real reasons why I bought it is because it's got the USB 3.0. So, there we go. That's pretty much good. My camera is telling me it's about to run out of battery, so I'm going to pack this up for the night, because there's not really much else that I can do. I'm not in a position to put the computer in here yet, so I'll clean up all this mess, and then we'll revisit this later. Well, folks, I don't really want to do this today, but it's now or never. I've got this Canada Day long weekend, so I'm trying to knock off some of the low-hanging fruit. And this project has gone on for entirely way too long. Hey, look at that uptime. Almost 20 days between crashes. And the only difference that I've done is I'm running Prime 95 versus just letting it idle. So that's very weird. I'll go ahead and shut it down here. Here it is. Look at how dirty that is. And there's a twist tie on top of the power supply for some reason. That's not cool, but anyway, I'm gonna get all this junk out of here and get ready to put it in there. There we go. Looks pretty empty. There's the board. I just gotta get that CPU off of there and that heatsink. And I'll probably dust this a little bit just to clean some of it off. Well, there it is, a little cleaned off. Unfortunately, the CPU came out with the heatsink. That's a problem with a lot of these PGA sockets. These days, the heatsink compound acts as an adhesive. So hopefully I didn't bend any pins on that, because I would like to reuse it. There it is. It almost looks like there's a little thing on top of it, but there isn't. It's kind of weird. I haven't seen one that looked like that in a while. But, because it doesn't come with a heatsink, it just had this massive plastic former in it. It's Surprised I didn't use cardboard in this day and age where everybody's afraid of the environment. We're still using all this plastic crap that's just going to end up in the garbage. It's amazing, really. Let's get this heatsink installed. In the box, you get this nice, massive bunch of hardware. And interestingly enough, it looks like, if you're using the AMD like I am, it looks like you don't have to actually use the little plastic X plate that it comes with, which is certainly different from all the other ones that I'm used to working with. I don't know, maybe it's a cheaper mechanism. Look at that nice flat machine surface. I don't know, I think there's some imperfections in that actually, but I'll choose to ignore it. I've installed the clamps on, and I've test fitted it to make sure I installed them correctly. So now all I have to do is install the thermal compound, and I am just going to use the Cooler Master stuff that it came with, because I can't find my tube of Arctic Silver 5 right now, so we'll just use what we've got. Should be fine. I've always had decent luck with the Cooler Master Master Gel stuff. And there you go. Heatsink is installed. Now, a couple of pieces of advice on mounting a cooler like this and thermal compound and stuff. You don't have to use the whole tube of thermal paste. They give you extra for a reason. In case you screw it up, at least you've got some extra. You don't have to go out and run out and get some more. If you use it all, what you'll end up with is an insulating layer as opposed to a thermal transfer layer, and it won't cool as well. The other thing with these screws that are spring-loaded, you want to use a good quality screwdriver. I don't know where my screwdriver went. Oh, it's sitting over there. But if you use a worn-out screwdriver, now these screws actually have a lip on them, but some of them don't. And what'll happen is if you use a worn-out screwdriver and your screwdriver slips, because this is under a lot of spring tension, you'll stab right through your motherboard. And you don't really want to do that, because then you'll be real sorry, I'll tell you that. Been there, done that. So, anyway, now I'm just going to mount the fan, and that's usually the hardest part. I hate mounting fans to these things. Good. Fan is installed. Wiring is installed, hopefully correctly. And I've also put it on the motherboard tray. So let's get this out of the way and get this in the case. Well, that really wasn't my grandiose plan for this. I thought it would come together a little bit better, but whatever. This is the way it's going to be. Now, it better work after all that. I don't like this drive cage. I don't like the fact that there's no cable management that you can do with this. But I mean, what do you expect for such an old case? I hope that this fan is going to stay, and also that it's going to get enough airflow and that everything's going to work. Because trying to get to anything on that port is going to be impossible. Though I suppose I could always just pull the tray out. It does have a removable motherboard tray. That would be nice. So I got to put the covers back on this and take it inside because I can't test it out here. Well, I suppose I could, but all I'd get out of it is a beep. Well, I'm telling you, I'm having second thoughts about this all of a sudden because apparently my video cables are not long enough to reach down there. So the computer is going to have to sit like this until I get longer video cables. What fun. But let's power it on. How much do you want to bet that someone's not going to freaking work? Oh, I just got light from the keyboard. Hit the power switch if I can find it. There's the power switch. I just saw a blue light thing on. Please work. Are we going to work or what? There's the beep I want. Okay. Firmware TPM reset. If you have BitLocker, encryption, blah blah blah, don't care. We'll reset the TPM. I want to go into setup. Change my keyboard too. At least I've got the BIOS beep. Okay. Please go into setup. Go into setup, please. This really isn't difficult. Okay. So, there we go. New CPU, 32 gig of RAM. I'll set this up the way it needs to be set up. There's a screen on the front. Display some stuff, CPU temperature. There's the fan. I think it's working. I'm just going to leave it all the way up. Of course, because today's Canada Day, it means I can't go and get my new part. So the computer is going to be stuck sitting like this for a little while. All my drives are there though, so that's good. At least something worked. I'm going to set this up to my liking and then we'll boot into Windows and see what's messed up. I'm sure somebody will complain about the fan noise. I don't know why it just rebooted again. Craziness with this. Nothing but craziness. Okay, second monitor just woke up. There we go. I don't know why it's giving me a battery problem. Okay, be interesting to see if we get a lockup on this, because I am running without Prime 95. Of course, I don't know why it's setting up all these new devices again. They're installed in exactly the same place that they were. So that's a little absurd. I do still need to get my USB external hard drives plugged in. I think I'm going to just plug them in there for now, because I'm going to have to get probably either a USB 3.0 hub or a USB 3.0 extension for those, because the cables are not going to be long enough to set them here, and obviously I can't set them on top of this right now because it's not flat and I can't make it flat. Alright, good news. It's been running for over 5 hours now and no crash. The bad news is that I forgot to plug in the front panel audio, and that was a real pain to get installed, I'll tell you what. I'm still not convinced it's working, so I'm going to restart the computer and find out if maybe I just need to reboot in order to get that to function, or if maybe the FP audio on this thing here doesn't work and I'm going to have to run a splitter to go to my headphones here in order to use the audio. That would kind of suck, wouldn't it? I also think these monitors are backwards, so I'll have to figure that out. Alright, let's see if this display is showing anything interesting. 37.1. Let's see, this fan speed should be turned all the way up. I'll turn that one all the way down. That's all the way down. I can't hear anything because there's, of course, just too many fans running in here. But it seems to be working. I'm not really sure how accurate that is, but there it is. That little media dashboard's great. The card reader works. The USB ports work. The fan controller, I presume, is working. The only thing that doesn't work, and the funny thing is this is the reason why I bought the stupid thing in the first place, was audio connectors that the camera will not focus on. Those audio jacks don't work. Well, they do work. They work just fine. The problem is that because they're not HD audio compatible, they don't work with the jack detection. So I could turn that off and those ports would work just fine, but the problem is then the computer directs all audio to the front panel, which I don't really want. So what I ended up doing is I ended up installing this down here, which has got some audio jacks on it, as well as 2 more USB ports that I'm not able to use because the motherboard doesn't have a header for those. So it's kind of tempting to get like a USB 3.0 card that's got a front panel header on it, so I can actually use those. Of course, it'd be interesting to get a USB card in general that also has a header so I could use the front panel USB 2.0 that's on the case, but alas, such is probably not going to be, well, the case. But I could take this random pair of crappy earbuds that I need to get rid of. I'd rather use real headphones. And I can plug them, if I can find the plug them in here. It's very difficult to do. And you can see, and I have jack detection. So that's working great. So that takes care of basically the second last problem that I've got. And the last problem I have is not going to be dealt with until after I get some cables for the video section of this, because it's going to be sitting crooked like this. And there's not much that I can do about that. I'm not going to keep the video going, just suffice it to say I'm going to get an HDMI cable and a DisplayPort cable, because this monitor supports DisplayPort. And I'm just going to do it that way, because that seems to be the way to go when it comes down to this. And that'll allow me to get rid of these converter cables or use them for something else. I've certainly got things that I could use them for, so. But there you go. That's pretty much all that I have to say about this. System is running fine. I'm not running Prime 95 on this, even though it looks like there's something going on that CPU right there, which is kind of odd. But Prime 95 is not running. You can see there, it is running kind of hot, but I don't know. It's not 100 degrees, so I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, if you take a look here, there's no Prime 95 running anywhere. So, and the system is running. Now I've rebooted it, obviously, because I was rebooting it to see if different drivers would help with the front panel audio with that 5 1/4 inch one, and it didn't. But it's run for another almost 2.5 hours since. No problems. I think it was up at 5 hours before, so I think it's doing pretty well. So finally, well, almost finally, but close enough to finally, my main computer is back up and running. Not quite the upgrade that I would have liked. I think I would have preferred to have one of the R9 series CPUs, either the 5900X or the 5950X. Can't really justify the cost of a 5950X over a 5900X, to be perfectly honest. For what? What's the difference? 4 cores, 8 threads? It's an extra, like, almost $300. Probably not really justifiable, but hey, it would have maxed out this platform. Oh well. I think we'll be fine with the 5800X 3D for a little while. And I figure the next upgrade for this thing is probably going to be a complete platform upgrade anyway. So, when that happens, I don't know. It'll probably be several years down the road, though. Because this should tide me over effectively until I need to get a new video card, which probably won't need to do for a very long time now that I've got my new video editor. But we are now trailing rapidly into digressions. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below.